Following one terrible report and news update after another for Donald Trump, his press secretary Karoline Leavitt walked out of the White House to have a de facto press conference with the media in a desperate attempt to reclaim the narrative, and I don't think it worked. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, as you know, today has been a pretty bad day for Trump, unusually so, even though he has bad days from time to time. So here's Karoline Leavitt weighing in on a whole host of issues.
So, Karoline, is the president more determined now, since the judge's ruling today, to go after James Comey and Tish James, and if so, why?
I wouldn't say he's going after them. I think the president is more determined than ever to see accountability in this country, yes, and to correct the wrongs of the weaponization of our justice system that we saw under the previous administration and Joe Biden.
Okay.
So she's pissed. You can see it on her face, and she'll comment more on the Comey indictment in just a second, the Comey and Letitia James indictment. But I'll remind you, it's very ironic for Karoline Leavitt to talk about the weaponization of justice when it was Donald Trump who explicitly and publicly ordered Attorney General Pam Bondi to prosecute Letitia James and James Comey. We have no evidence that President Biden ever publicly or privately ordered anybody to prosecute his political foes. So by definition, Donald Trump is objectively far more corrupt, even if you think Biden's corrupt, and his Justice Department is far more politicized, even if you think that Biden's was politicized. So she has no credibility here whatsoever. This question was really good because one of the reporters wanted to know specifically how Trump himself reacted. And again, Leavitt tries to spin it, but you can tell just based on how she responds that Trump was pissed.
What was President Trump's reaction to those indictments against Comey and James being thrown out?
His reaction was, we've seen this before. We've seen partisan judges take unprecedented steps to try to intervene in accountability before, but we're not going to give up. And I know that the Department of Justice intends to appeal these rulings very soon. If they haven't already, I may have missed it.
So, again, so funny. Anytime a judge rules against the Trump administration, it's because they're an activist, partisan hack or whatever, because Trump is perfect. It's just, again, a toddler's view of the world. The reason that the judge dismissed the case is because it didn't even weigh in on the merits. That could come later if the case is refiled. They could get kicked out again on the merits, was because there's a federal rule which says that an interim U.S. attorney can only serve for 120 days without senatorial consent, and Lindsey Halligan violated the rule. It was so egregious, the Trump administration tried to have some sort of retroactive order. Okay, well, Attorney General Pam Bondi said that, actually I'm fine, and I have a letter here from her saying that actually my effective start date, for all intents and purposes, was the day before. So it's fine. Everything is fine. It's like, no, it's not. That's not how that works. It's not how time works. She's not a Marvel superhero or supervillain in her case. She doesn't have the time zone. She's not in a position to, warp reality to her needs. She appointed, Lindsey Halligan was appointed interim U.S. attorney at a specific date, and we know the date was a matter of public record. You can't pretend that the date was otherwise. It'd be like me hiring somebody or you hiring me on a Tuesday, and then for whatever reason, a week from now, it's like, actually, we hired Josiah on Monday. I'm writing this letter saying, even though we all know he was hired Tuesday, actually, he was retroactively hired Monday. What? That's not how time works, and that's why the judge kicked the case. And maybe the Trump administration will prevail on appeal, but it seems increasingly unlikely. Here's another clip.
I wanted to ask you, is it MAGA to support American workers being replaced with H-1B visa holders? Are Americans not capable of filling most of these positions?
Who supports American workers getting replaced?
I know the president mentioned that he wanted to bring in some workers that he could eventually send back in regards to...
The president does not support American workers being replaced. You are mischaracterizing what the president said. The president wants to see our American manufacturing industry be revitalized better than ever before. That's part of what he's doing with his effective use of tariffs and cutting good trade deals around the world.
It's not. Manufacturing jobs have declined. They've declined 1 month after another. There was a manufacturing boom under President Biden. There's been a manufacturing hemorrhage under Donald Trump. Facts don't care about your feelings, Karoline. You lose on the facts. per usual.
That's why he's recruited trillions and trillions of dollars in investments into our country. Those are creating good paying American jobs right here at home. As for the H-1B visa issue, the president has a very nuanced and common sense opinion on this issue. He wants to see if foreign companies are investing trillions of dollars in the United States of America and they're bringing foreign workers with them to create very niche things like batteries. He wants to see that at the beginning to get those manufacturing facilities and those factories up and running. But ultimately, the president always wants to see American workers in those jobs. And he's told these foreign companies that are investing here, you better be hiring my people if you're going to be doing business in the United States. So there's been a lot of misunderstanding of the president's position.
So this is what has triggered MAGA, in part because Trump campaigned on a more nativist, assessment of the H-1B visa program. Trump originally campaigned against the H-1B visa program, and then in his second campaign, he kind of waffled back and forth because tech bros like Elon Musk support the H-1B visa program, and people like Steve Bannon and Marjorie Taylor Greene, the more nativist and often racist elements of MAGA, did not like it. And so there was like a tension there. And ultimately, big money and big tech prevailed with Trump. And so he has come back out and defended the H-1B visa program, pissing off MAGA. A lot of them have been pissed. Of course, it's a cult, so they'll often bend the knee despite voicing, some belayed aggravation with Trump. But that's why the reporter was asking that question. Like, well, MAGA's upset about this. And again, what Trump is trying to do is split the baby. He's trying to say, well, listen, we're going to support the H-1B visa program now, but in the future, these jobs that you all want to go to white people, they will absolutely go to white people. So again, it's constant tension back and forth, and I don't think it's persuading anybody. Here's another clip.
By Thursday. And then on the Comey and James case, does the president still have confidence in Lindsey Halligan?
Absolutely, he does, to your second question.
Does he have confidence in Lindsey Halligan? Absolutely. Why? Doesn't sound like he should. She fucked up spectacularly. I mean, the case, the James Comey case in particular, there were two cases filed by Lindsey Halligan. The case against Letitia James, the case against James Comey, and they've both gone atrociously. I mean, both were dismissed. The James Comey case was going pretty terribly even before that as well. So I'm not sure why you would have such confidence in this former insurance attorney, right, who is not a federal prosecutor. This is the first criminal case she's ever brought, and total disaster. But Trump having confidence in her, I actually could believe that because he has a terrible, terrible eye for talent, and I could see him doubling down on a shitty person. Here's another clip.
Jake?
If the president does announce a proposal to cut healthcare costs, will that include the extension of healthcare subsidies?
I know there's been a lot of reporting on this from yourself as well, Jake, over the last few days. I will tell you that healthcare is a topic of discussion that's happening very frequently and robustly inside the West Wing right now. The president's very much involved in these talks, and he's very focused on unveiling a healthcare proposal that will fix the system and will bring down costs for consumers. As for the details of those discussions, I'll let the president speak for himself. As you all know, sometimes you report things and then President Trump comes out with an announcement, and those things are not always true from what you hear from sources inside the building. So I'll let the president speak for himself.
Yeah, so of course this is in response to like healthcare and Obamacare, and Trump, again, humiliated earlier today. Trump delays healthcare plan announcement after, quote, significant congressional backlash. Trump reportedly scrapped a planned announcement extending on Affordable Care Act subsidies set for Monday after MS Now journalist Jake Traylor reported he was facing, quote, significant congressional backlash from Republican lawmakers. Traylor's report, based on two White House officials, said Trump was ready to share a plan for halting spiking Obamacare premiums. That plan was delayed, though, after Traylor reported that Trump's, quote, plan is facing strong backlash from congressional Republicans. Both MS Now and Politico had previously reported that Trump was ready to share his new plan on Monday. Politico reported on Sunday that the new health policy would include a 2-year extension on Obamacare subsidies, which are set to expire at the end of 2025. The plan was going to put, quote, new limits on eligibility. So now he had this plan. Then they had to cancel the announcement because of Republican backlash. It sounds like a total shit show. It really, really does, which is textbook Trump and why he's polling so atrociously on the ACA. But it's also acknowledgement and recognition that he's losing, and I mean badly, the debate on healthcare. So again, Democrats need to take this seriously. Democrats can't just simply rule it out and say, oh, we can just kick back. We're going to coast to victory. on the laurels of the ACA, because you never know with Trump. He might, try to strong arm the Republicans into extending Obamacare, which would be great for the American people. It would avoid the healthcare subsidies, but by definition would also eliminate a political problem, or potentially eliminate a political problem that could cost Trump the 2026 midterm. So Democrats need to be thinking about this. And we're going to close on one final clip, which is about Zohran Mundani.
Sure, go ahead, Kara.
President Trump said he still believes he's a fascist and a despot after they had such a great meeting. Any comment from the White House on that?
I think talk is cheap, and I think that the president is going to judge Mundani by his actions that he takes to New York. The meeting was positive, as you heard from the president last week, and I think the fact that the president is willing to meet with somebody who said those types of things about him shows that he really is interested in being a president for all Americans, regardless of where they live or who their leader is. He wants what's best for New York. He loves New York City. He helped build the skyline. He spent his whole life there, and so he really wants to see New York do well. And so that's how that meeting played last week.
Yeah, you can tell that they're not happy about what happened there. Mundani played Trump like a fiddle without compromising any of his values, any of his prior quotes. He said in the Oval Office, standing next to Trump, that he still stands by everything he said about Trump. He's reaffirmed that in subsequent interviews following that meeting. This is a rare example of a guy who felt the need to walk a tightrope where he could work with Trump, or had to convey to the American people and to the residents of New York that he could try to vote try to work with Trump without compromising his beliefs on Trump. And I think more than anybody, Mundani was able to pull it off, and he emerged victorious over Trump in that exchange, in that meeting. And Trump was like visibly smitten with Mundani in a way that wasn't reciprocal at all. So kudos to Mundani, and I can see why Karoline Leavitt, who's pretty savvy, especially when it comes to media, she's probably thinking, shit, Donald Trump screwed that up. And indeed he did. In the meantime, let me know what you think in the comments.